So let's think about the one gun you could have if you could only have one firearm. I've got a friend who actually just moved into a pretty crappy neighborhood, and they had someone trying to break into their house, and it kind of got him rattled. Now, he's never owned a firearm. He's been shooting maybe once or twice with me, and he's been asking about home defense recommendations for something that can kind of touch on all the bases. Now, for most of the people watching this, you're probably like me and you own a couple. You know, you're building this collection, or as they call in California, anytime you own more than 2 guns at once, an arsenal. And it's kind of tough for us to think about the one gun that could do it all. You know, this is actually my last place pick for this idea. What I'm talking about is a gun that can do home defense, concealed carry, target practice, and just fun. You want something that can do a little bit of everything, that can feed whatever ammo you give it pretty reliably. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about ammo for this, because if you're a person who's buying this as a utility piece, you're not going to be upgrading your loadouts, you're not going to be dialing it in, you're going to be hand loading. You shoot maybe 3 boxes a year just to maintain currency with it and know you can use it, and then you're going to call it good. It goes back into your gun safe, back into your nightstand, back into your little, like, in the waistband holster. It becomes it's a tool. You use it in your shop, you know, you don't really go to the hammerforums.com and argue about which one has the best anti-vibration technology. And so these people might not even care that much about it. For him, I'm recommending that he go with one of the following guns. I have to say last place, and this is the Tp9 Sa. They have a Tp9 V2 that's just come out that looks pretty promising too. As far as the pricing goes, this one's pretty smoking. You can get these for about $360. I would say you get whatever gun you want on this table and then dial it in. Find a good load, find something, you know, like a Gold Dot or some of the Hornady stuff. I really like their critical defense, by the way. It's pretty awesome. Find one that feeds, buy a ton of it, call it good. Train with it, practice with it, then shoot it whenever you need to. That way you don't have to worry about something that, you know, you're swapping it around, doing all that kind of nonsense. There's always someone that wants to talk about the correct pronunciation of it. I'm just going to default to looking at it and saying Canik. I'm sure there's some Turkish pronunciation. I don't know why. You always hear it in firearms crowds about how we're supposed to pronounce things the correct way and the acceptable way. I never hear people in other languages ever trying to imitate ours. Actually, there is one novella out there where the people say Manhattan really weird every single time in Spanish. It's a really abrupt changeover. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, this will come last in my list because it's not as proven as some of these other contenders. You know, if we were looking at a Glock, we're looking at even Smith & Wessons and all these different things, Rugers. They have a good history and they're a known quantity. You can get some mods for them and stuff. This is fairly new to the US market. I know some people are really leery of Turkish stuff. So far, you know, I've carried it a little bit. I love it. It's really good for the price, especially when you can get it for around $360. That's like normal pricing for it. I've heard even less. I know a guy that supposedly bought his for like $320 or around there. I think it's a great price for what you get. It's a very comfortable gun. It feels a lot like the H&K VP9 and the PPQ to an extent. It's got that really similar grip angle, just really similar ergos. I really like shooting it. I like the sights on it. I think it's comfortable. I think it does its job well. I know some people don't like this decocker in here. I've carried it. I've never had it accidentally go off. If it's something you're worried about, just, you know, blow it off, pick a different weapon. I think this is pretty good though, especially if you're a utilitarian type and you don't really want to pay a bunch extra for, you know, an Austrian or a German mark, or you can't find any of the American stuff that suits you. So this will go over here. Alright, and I'm not really ordering these a whole ton. I'm kind of throwing a bunch out on the table. I will say next up is going to be the Glock series. This is my Glock 26 I carry all the time. This has A-grip on it. If you don't use A-grip, you really ought to start. It's amazing and I love it. It's the best thing ever. Glock 26 is awesome. It's a great carry gun, little double stack 9. It hides well, it packs well, it's easy to shoot. I love the ergos on this. I may not be the biggest fan of a full-size Glock, you know, with the funky proprietary grip angle they like doing, but I really like it on the 26. It really does help compensate, at least the way I shoot it. Love it. It's awesome. If you're going to carry more than you are going to throw it in a nightstand next to your safe, I would say by all means go with the 26. If you're going to lean into, you know, hiding it away, tucking it in your pants, you're going around with it, definitely. And it can still do the home defense stuff pretty awesome. Feeding from bigger magazines can be kind of iffy. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. I have one 19 mag that seems to feed it pretty well. I still can't figure out what's going on with it. Again, if you're just using your one setup, find the mags that work, find the ammo that works, have at it. Now I'm going to say that's about, I think, $560, $540 around there. It really depends. You can get them used for a lot cheaper. I did see one on, I think it was Gunbroker last week that was like 3 something that I told him to get, but I don't think he did. Pretty good if you're going to go for a little bit bigger. Glock 19 is where it's at. I do like the 19. I almost like it more than the 17, and I got a 17 right here too. They're both great guns, and really all the Glocks are. You're not going to go wrong with any one of these. This, if you can tell, if you're one of the firearms enthusiasts, you'll look at this and go, hey, that's a 2nd gen. It has Austrian proof marks. You would see on the other side. It is. It's a 2nd gen Glock. And it's actually the early 19. This is something I grew up with. This is one of our first guns. And if you want to talk about this whole problem in a nutshell, here was our answer for it back in the day. He bought this new way back when, and I think I was about 1 year old or so. And as long as I can remember, this has been like our primary home defense firearm, which is pretty cool. So, you know, we still have it, still ticking, still rocks. I do like the lack of finger grooves on here. I wish they would bring that back in a way. So that's pretty cool. I don't think you can go wrong with it, though. Glocks are still awesome, and as far as the layman goes, they're simple. You don't have to worry about any safeties or any of that. And a lot of people may get leery, you know, you don't have a mechanical safety. I think in the heat of the moment, for someone that's not overly trained and they're not super prepared, the presence of like a 1911 style thumb safety might end up killing them. You know, if they're not practicing enough, if they don't have the presence of mind. It's easy to do it when you're like out here on a table when no one's freaking you out and you're not stressed and it's not dark and you didn't just wake up 3 seconds ago. Really easy to do that. The whole finger off the trigger and it doesn't shoot thing, it works for a lot of cops. It works for, I think, Army Rangers issue it. I think it's a good system, but if you have any kind of hesitation about that, I would maybe go with an XD. And call me crazy, this is an XDM. I know you can do the standard one. I think standard XDs are about, what is it, like 430 or something like that. And you get like 2 16-round mags with some of them. It's a pretty good setup. I personally like the Pro, or the M. I always call it the Pro because that's what... Anyways. I like them. They shoot well. The barrels are dead on accurate. The trigger's awesome. The sights are pretty stellar for what you get. I'm trying to line it up for you. Great guns. Really comfortable. It may not be the sexiest thing around. This one has been modified with the appliques right here. But it does its job. And every time I've picked one of these up, I'm pretty damn accurate with it. And so is everyone else. If you hand them an XDM, they'll just rock. And especially in like the small family dynamic, you want whoever you're giving it to be able to shoot it along with their family. You know, you want the wife to be able to shoot it. So I wouldn't necessarily go for something like a little Glock 26 with plus P loads if she doesn't like to shoot it. And sometimes I think the dudes and the men will go for the bigger stuff and just go, hey, it's a 357, here you go, doll face. And they give it to her, and then it's not comfortable to shoot, especially if you do have smaller hands. You want to make sure it's comfortable for whoever's going to be relying on it. So XDM, you can get them for $435 entry, I think, or something like that. And then it's like mid-5s if you're getting something with the night sights on it. By the time you get to the top end of the XDM line, I think you're looking at like $700 or something. So it does get pretty pricey towards the end. If you're only buying one gun, I think you can get away with a lot there. So that's pretty good. And my number one pick, if I can reach down and find it somewhere. You should have seen this coming by now. Not a wheel gun, sadly. Walther PPQ. Smoking gun. Man, I do sound like my dad. That's weird. This one is actually one of the first editions. It's got the little threaded barrel on there. I love it. I love everything about the PPQ. It's ergonomic. I love the paddle style mag release. I love the easy sights. I love the grip angle. I love everything about it. If I had to pick just one pistol for the rest of my life that I had to use, it would likely be this, just because it's so damn good. All these are good, though. You notice I didn't have anything really bad to say about a Glock, XDs. The PPQ is just my favorite and kind of a favorite pair of jeans thing, you know? It's more comfortable, I shoot well with it, and really it's on par with my performance between these 3 guns. I guess the 19 should be there. Between these 3, I shoot about the same, but I am a lot more accurate at longer range with the PPQ. And I remember the first time I shot one, it was using the hostage target plate at about, like, I think 15 yards, 10, something like that. It was pretty far for me, and I was able to ping it almost every round with this thing. Really good, and I'm normally not that good with other guns. So there you go. If I'm picking one, it's going to go PPQ. If I have the coin, XDM. If not, totally happy with the Glock. And if I'm looking to pinch some pennies, the Canik is a very good contender. I would say try out all these as much as you can, especially if you're watching this, you're likely a firearms enthusiast and you're probably going to be walking like your friends or family through it, take them out. It's a good excuse to go and check things out, try them, and then you can kind of share your collection, or arsenal as they call it in California, and you can hopefully generate some new enthusiasts. If not, you've got a lot of choices. It's not 1970s, whatever it is, guns and ammo, where all you can find are crappy hollow points for revolvers and a couple of Smith & Wessons. Dude, there are just so many options, and they're all so good. This isn't even mentioning like the M&P, which I personally don't like the trigger so much, that's why I didn't mention it. The Ruger's got a lot of stuff. I don't totally love Ruger stuff. Some of it's cool, some of it's not. And I guess that's really it. I can't think of the other contender. H&K is probably a little too expensive. I think the VP9's pretty awesome though, if you can find it for cheaper. Just between VP9 and PPQ, I like the PPQ more. If I were going to get a VP9, I would probably buy one of these and still see if I'm still thirsty for one afterwards, because it's such a convincing doppelganger. Anyways, Tactically, check that out. See ya.